everybody. We are doing a reading comprehension lesson today. First thing that we should do is go over our objective and learn why we are doing what we are doing. So our objective for today is to read and comprehend literature, including stories, dramas, and poems. So to break this down, first, we've already read. We've already done this part. We've read the book. Next, we are trying to comprehend the book, which means we are trying to understand what we are reading. We are trying to retain that information and store it in our long-term memory so we have that information forever. And the one that we're doing today is stories. The book that we're reading is Catherine Called Birdie, and we've already read pages 43 through 90, so that's what we're going to do this reading comprehension worksheet on. First, I want everybody to make sure their name is on the worksheet at the top. Then make sure your Lexile range is filled in. Make sure you've got the title written down. And then make sure you circle that it is a chapter book or a novel. And we read pages 43 through 90. All right. So while we're reading, oftentimes we look back and we're like, what did I just read? I don't understand what I just read. So sometimes we don't comprehend what we read. But when we track our inner conversation, when we actually pull out the information that we're supposed to know, it helps us comprehend the information better. So different ways that we can do this. I'm just going to send a little bit so you can see it better. There we go. So a few different ways that we can comprehend our reading is one, through asking questions. We all come up to times when we don't know what we just read. We don't know what a term is. We don't know what something means. It always happens. Next, you can respond to what you read. You can have a new learning. You can learn something that you didn't know before. Next, which is my favorite, is images in your head. Sometimes you can picture what a scene looks like or what's happening. You can make connections, whether they're personal or analytical or any kind of connections you can make. Predictions, you can predict what you think is going to happen. And then summarizing. You can summarize what happens in what you just read. So throughout this worksheet, I'm going to do a portion of it by myself. I'm teaching you guys how we take each one of these and put it on paper. After I do it, then you guys are going to do it with your groups. And then I'll come around and I'll give you guys kind of a formative assessment of how you're doing. Once you and your group are done with the portion, then you're going to do it independently, and that'll be more of a summative assessment, where you show me what you've learned. So first, what I would like everybody to do, speed it up, is draw a line like this. Numbers 1 through 7. Drawing a line like that. And then you're putting teacher over here. So this is the portion that I'm doing. I'm going to do numbers 1 through 7 for you. And then you guys are going to do the next 7 with your group. And then the last 6 you'll do independently. So we're just sectioning that off so we see who's doing what. So once you guys have that down, I'm going to show you how we are going to decipher which category we're going to be having the conversation with ourselves. So if you have a question, you're just going to put a question mark in a circle. If you have a response, a comment, or a statement, you're going to put an exclamation point. For new learning, you're going to put an N. For images in your head, you'll put an I. For connections, you'll put a C. Predictions, you will put a P. And summarizing, you'll put an S. And you'll put that in the top corner of whichever box you're doing. So then you know which one that goes to. Yes?
What if we have an answer to a question?
If you have an answer to a question, you can put an A. That's a very good question. You'll put an A in a box. So then you'll know when you answer that question. But you know, sometimes when you read, you don't always come up with that answer in that same piece of reading. So sometimes you have to outsource. Sometimes you have to go to the internet and still look it up. So if you have a question, sometimes you may not always get it answered in the text. So next, I want everybody to open their books to page 43. That's where we started in November. That's the first chapter that we read. So first, I'll start reading, and then if I come across a category that I can track, then I'll put that down. So first day of November. We took down the hazel branches from all the doors and windows and blessed God for keeping us free of witches for another year. So I'll stop right there. I think we took down the hazel branches from the doors and windows. So in my head, I'm imagining some kind of garland, something like that. It's around Christmas time, a little bit before, but there's something going around the doors and the windows. So that's an image in my head. So what I'll do is I'll put an I right here, and then I'm going to draw a picture. So my picture, there's going to be a door and a window. And then I'm not really sure exactly what hazel branches look like, but I can guess. I can imagine what I think they look like. So I'm just going to do a little sketch of what I think hazel branches would look like. Now, if I look at this picture, and if I'm the reader of this assignment, and I look at this picture, I don't necessarily know what it is. So that's why I should put a caption. So the caption that I'll put is hazel branches. So now I'm going to continue to read. Would that it were so easy to keep the abominable Robert away. He is coming for Christmas. The first memory I have of this brother is his drowning ants by pissing on the anthill. He has plagued me ever since. Second day of November, Feast of All Souls. I just learned something right there. I didn't know that the second day of November was the Feast of All Souls. So I just learned something. So I'm going to put an N, and I'll say, I did not know that November 2nd is the Feast of All Souls. Make sure we're not forgetting our punctuation as well. I joined the village children today as they went from cottage to cottage begging for soul cakes. Our cook makes the largest cakes, but Perkins' granny makes the best. I just had a connection with that right there. Catherine said that Perkins' granny makes the best cakes. Do you guys want to know who I think makes the best cakes? My grandma. My grandma makes the best cakes ever. So I have a connection right there. When we have a connection, these are personal connections. They can be the smallest little thing. So where it said second day of November, anybody that has a November 2nd birthday, you have a connection right there. Anybody that has a grandma that makes cakes, there's a connection right there. You have connections all over readings, all the time. There's a connection. Let's say my grandma makes cakes just like Perkins' grandma. And there's my connection. So what would help is if I check off each one that I've done. So I'm going to do the first 7 for you guys because I'm going to show you how you're supposed to go about doing each one. Ordinarily, I do not mind Perkins' granny's muddle mindfulness, for she is the most roomy-hearted person I know. But sometimes she forgets to make her cakes, and we are all disappointed. One year, she made cakes at Michaelmas and was full angry that no one came begging for them. So I'm not 100% sure what Michaelmas is. So I have a question right there. What is Michaelmas? So I'll put a question mark. What is Michaelmas? And since it's a question, I'll end it with a question mark. Another All Souls Day, as we stood at her window singing, "Soul, a soul cake, please good mistress, a soul cake." She wished us a holy Christmas and sang back, "Here we come a-wassailing among the boughs so green." This year, she got the day right, and I snuck extra cakes into my chamber for tomorrow. I have already eaten them. So I can see that Catherine really likes to sing. And throughout the book so far, we've seen her write a few different songs. So I'm going to make a prediction. And when I make a prediction, I'll put a P. My prediction is, I predict that Catherine will continue to write more songs. She seems like a free spirit. She's a fun girl. She likes to write songs. I think she'll write some more. Check those up. I did a question and I made a prediction. So now, 3rd day of November. The beast my father roared, especially ugly roars today. I never seem to please him, although it is true I never try. When I was a child, I oftentimes thought I was foundling, or even better, the beloved daughter of our good King Edward Longshanks, left here with his beast and his wife for fostering. So throughout the book, we've seen a lot of Catherine and her father not getting along. So you can kind of summarize that. So with summarizing, I'm going to put an S. Catherine's father is always grumpy with her. think about Catherine and her father's relationship and how they don't have a very good one, it kind of makes me sad. Because I do have a good relationship with my father. So I think that it's sad when somebody doesn't. So that's a response. Say, it is sad that Catherine and her father do not get along. All right, so now I've modeled for you guys how you go about doing each one of these categories when you're reading. You don't necessarily have to do all of them all the time. Sometimes somebody that really thinks in pictures only thinks in pictures with their reading. So that's perfectly fine if all you do is pictures, or all you do is ask questions, or all you do is comment and make responses. That's perfectly fine. But what I want you guys to do is the next 7, you guys are going to do with your groups, and I want you guys to do one of each, just like I did. So you guys are going to use the pages that we read from, so pages 43 to 90, the 2 chapters. I want you guys to take those pages and turn them into tracking your inner conversation. So the next 7 that you guys do, you'll do 1 from each category. And then once you and your group are done, you can raise your hand, and then I'll come by, I'll take a look at it, I'll see how you guys are doing, I'll give you any comments if you need them. And then the last 6, you're going to do independently. But when you're doing it independently, you guys are able to do whatever sequence you want. So if you really like imagining pictures and thinking about what you're reading in pictures, you could do all pictures. If you want to ask all questions, you can ask all questions. If you want to do a mix of any of the 7, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Are there any questions? Yes?
After we're done, do we turn it into the box?
Yes, after you guys are done, you can turn it into the box right up here. Are there any other questions? Any questions about the categories and how you're supposed to go about doing them? All right. What is something that we do not forget at the end of our sentences? You guys can just say it out loud.
Punctuation.
Punctuation. We never forget punctuation. What's something that we never forget at the beginning of a sentence?
Capital.
A capital. We never forget our symbol either. So then the person that is grading this knows what you are talking about. Yes?
I have a question for the prediction. Why do you always have to put I predict?
Because if you didn't put I predict, if you just had, Catherine will continue to write more songs, the person that's reading it doesn't necessarily know that that's a prediction that you're making. Or maybe a prediction that your neighbor is making, or somebody else. With the I predict, it's your personal prediction.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Yes?
What if your prediction doesn't come true?
That's perfectly fine. If we make predictions all the time. I predict that I'm going to win the lottery tomorrow. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It's perfectly fine for your predictions not to come true. That's a great question. Thank you. Anybody else? No? All right, you guys can start working with your groups. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
Logan.
Anything we just read so far. Read it when you find something to say.
Okay.
Like on the third day of the camera, it says, is the beast is say remote
So we didn't know this, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know this. So,
Apparently, Saint Ramon, who was 3 years old, said, "I am a Christian."
so a new learning.
Yeah, full cake.
Well, how do you draw the
Cake mix.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do cakes.
We have to
Like a
label
little,
stuff.
yeah, we have a little egg on top.
So what are you guys thinking? Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Saint Romuald died at 3 days old only because he said I'm a Christian. Where's the baby that died at 3 days old?
It's the Middle Ages.
The devil taker?
Which Moana is doing now. The devil take her. Okay, so I think we could draw a picture of, them just in the forest having fun. Yeah. So,
Nice, that's a great question. I like that. Good thought.
yes. Okay. So now we have a question. So
Alright, I have a question.
But we can also do more than
Why
one.
did Cap rating that?
No, because for these we have to do set one of each, but then independently.
And birds are smart enough to jump in the fire.
it fell.
What do you guys have so far?
We have a new learning.
What'd you guys learn?
We learned that
Saint Romuald at 3 days old, his last words were, "I am a Christian."
Yeah,
yeah.
good point.
I have a question. Why did Cap put it?
So wait,
Okay, what can we do now?
Where's the question?
Now,
That it's sad that the kid died at 3 days old because he said I'm a Christian.
Yeah, that is pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget a punctuation right there.
Oh, shoot.
So, should we do a prediction or images?
if we do an image, we could do it a golden.
This feathers look like trees.
Okay. Wait,
Is everybody done for this?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think that's a connection line in Jaws.
Should the connection, like with our connections, should it like,
I felt like our community
are we just gonna write down like the same connection that everyone has if we're just going with one? Where's your connection?
Catherine says she wonders why you have noses. Basically, wonders why, in a sense, why we have like body parts where they are.
what is Martin?
Alright, so, do you have a oh yeah,
Catherine isn't very happy with the way she looks because she doesn't like sewing.
I don't think she's
Nice picture, thank you.
Not happy. No.
Did you write down the question?
Yes, I did.
So, do a statement that Catherine is not happy the way she's doing?
Alright, please stay alone.
No, Catherine's not happy. To go to bed or finish her sewing, which Morona is doing now. The devil took her.
Next, I guess.
Next.
Yeah.
We could do predictions for that, since she's also talking about how she wants her father to be like that. What? We could do a prediction because she's saying, because she scratches all of the idea with the golden ivory, and she says, no, even better, my real father is a woodsman from the west who lives in a treehouse made of sticks and branches.
Yeah. I predict that
Will eventually happen. Her real father will.
Okay.
What are you predicting?
About how her real father will find her and bring her back.
Good. Some good speculation.
Okay. Do I read the next paragraph too? If you would. We can all take. Yeah, Cheyenne, how about you?
Hold on.
That would be a good question.
Welcome, guys.
5th day of November. My father came to dinner after Mass. He is infested with boils and blotches, and sought the aid of my to test my skills of doctor. She asked me what I would advise. I thought the best remedy was to throw himself in the river.
You realize it has to be through 43 and 90?
How are you guys doing?
40, that's 41. And that was on response?
Yeah.
Okay, what would we write?
Wait,
Grosses me out.
Once you get to the independent part, then you can do whatever.
Okay, now we need a prediction. No, we need a summary, and we need a respond, comment, or statement. Any of those crap. Okay.
Our response.
You have a response? Okay.
Yes, I do. So my response is, I find it weird that Catherine put a toad in George's bed.
Wait, what?
I find it weird that Catherine put a toad in George's bed.
Why? It's revenge.
Yeah, okay, so what's the connection gonna be?
Oh, okay. The wind ripped off roots like from the storm. No, because the storm we just had. Remember outside.
We could do Catherine on
I was about to
We recently had a storm with wild winds.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, we could put that as the connection.
Yeah.
What connections do you guys have?
I guess we
Anybody for sick?
Nothing that I thought of.
Kind of dark spots. So kind of almost like scars.
but instead of black, we could say like we also need medical attention.
bored because there were a few feathers in the fish. He has eaten worse. As I passed his chair after dinner, the beast hit me hard enough to crack my rump. Afterwards, my Uncle George winked at me and made all the uproar word. My heart almost stopped.
Which one do you guys still need?
We need connections and new learning.
Does anybody have an Uncle George? No? Nobody has an Uncle George?
How would we? A connect. We could probably do like a connection. How she got like scared or something like that. I don't know.
I also
So what was that?
That was the 5th of November. Now, do you want to do the 6th of November?
Sure.
Okay.
Feast to Saint Illtyd, who once sailed to Brittany with corn ships in the eve of famine. Went to the high meadow to meet Ellis as we planned. I waited all day, but she never came.
So this is an example, if you want to come right here. This is this group's example of what they did. So they have a question right here. What does the phrase "the devil take her" mean? That's a very good question. Did you guys ever find that out? Did they answer it in the text? No. No? So then if you still have that burning question, you might have to outsource sometimes. Next. The feathers on the fish when her bird got in there. I didn't know abominable could be used in that context on page 43. Good, way to cite that. Gray and drizzling day reminds me of unpleasant weather. Yeah, we just had a big storm, huh? That's great connection. Grosses me out that Catherine has 7 ticks. Yes, that is very gross. Catherine doesn't approve of her Uncle George and A-list. Good. And I predict that STEM was very bad due to the dead animals on the supplies of the river. Great, that's awesome. Yeah, so now you guys can all go to doing your independent work, and then you can do a mixture of whatever categories you would like.